everyone. Thank you so much for your patience. I think we're finally ready to start. It is amazing to see so many of you here and to know that so many of you are interested in this great opportunity. I know that we've got people here from Kyungbuk College and from the other Candy sites and also from Cornell. Thank you for travelling here to hear more about the opportunity. I'm going to run through a few slides to explain a little bit more about the opportunity and how you apply for it. And then at the end, we'll leave plenty of time for questions. But if I could just ask if you just wait until the end before asking any questions, as it might be the thing that you've got a question about is answered the slide. We will be sharing the slides with you all afterwards, so there's no need to kind of take pictures for it as we're going along or kind of jot anything down. The slide will be shared with you. Okay. Okay, so just to start with, I'm just going to recap on what the Turing scheme is. I'm sure having seen the promotions about this opportunity, many of you ventured onto the Turing scheme website to see what it is all about. But in case there is anybody who isn't familiar with it, it's a relatively new government initiative, so it's now in its second year of funding, and essentially it seeks to provide an opportunity for students studying in the UK to undertake a mobility, so it can be a learning experience or a work placement overseas. And with that, it seeks to help young people or learners develop their skills and increase their employability prospects. Okay, so our project has a number of objectives which are in line with the Turing scheme opportunity objectives. So we are looking to contribute to a global Britain, so to prepare people in Britain for global exchange, global collaboration, understanding of the wider world. We also seek to demonstrate a levelled up approach. So this means that we want to include as many different people from different backgrounds as we can within our project and this opportunity. And we seek to enhance the skills and the knowledge of our participants. And lastly, we seek to achieve value for UK taxpayers' money. So that means we're trying to make the most of this project, what we do with it, and the experience that those that participate in it have, and what they take from it, and what they give back after it, so what they can contribute having taken part in this opportunity. Okay, so just a recap of the opportunity. So it's a 21-day mobility to either South Korea or to China. The opportunity to visit South Korea is in March or April, from the end of March through to April next year, and the opportunity to visit China is end of June through to July. And in total, we have funding to take 57 students to Korea and China. And those students will be selected from across capital city college groups, so that means West King, Candy and Cornell. And students will be accompanied by 8 members of staff, and through participating in this opportunity, students will get an opportunity to learn some basic new language skills, so some either basic Korean language or basic Chinese, and to experience a different culture, to build their confidence and make new friends from a very different walk of life from themselves. They'll get the experience to travel internationally and for those few weeks to live more independently. This is something that the students who took part in the opportunity last year really valued from it. So a number of them didn't have experience of travelling internationally or hadn't done it for many years, they've been young with their families, and it gave them a real insight and showed them that actually it's something that it is possible for them to do by themselves. And they really enjoyed the opportunity to live away from their family unit and to get a bit of an insight into what it might be like if they were to move away from university or to just move out of the family home and live independently. And those who participate in the opportunity will receive a certificate of participation at the end of the programme. So in terms of the student profile, so student profile is the students that we're looking to select for the opportunity. We're looking for students who are aged 18 or above, or will be by the time of the mobility. So we have a date in March, the 17th of March, for those that are interested in the career opportunity, and a date in June, I believe it's the 17th of June, for those that are interested in the China opportunity. Students need to be studying on a further education course rather than a higher education course. So that means if you're studying on a degree course, then unfortunately this opportunity isn't for you. We're seeking to recruit all students with special educational needs, 6 apprentices, and they will be selected from our apprenticeship training arm, the Capital City College training. And we're looking for around 75% of students to come from a less advantaged background, and I'll explain a little bit more about what we mean by that in a couple of slides' time. Students need to be able to commit to the mobility dates and also to the pre-mobility sessions, which includes online language classes, which will take place from the beginning of January for 2 hours a week through to the middle of March. And also to attend the pre-departure briefings. So we'll have 3 pre-departure briefings for each of the opportunities, which will seek to help prepare students for the experience. Students who are interested in applying will need to submit an application. I'll share a link to the application form in just a minute. And if you are shortlisted, you would likely need to attend an interview as well. And that might be a different process for apprenticeships. In terms of the process, once you've applied, it will be down to the individual colleges, so it will go back to Westminster, Kingsway, to Candy, or to Canal, to complete that kind of selection process. On return to the UK, those that take part in the programme will be expected to share their experience with peers and possibly with teaching staff as well. So as we said, we really want to get value for taxpayers' money. We want to make the most of this opportunity, and so that is likely to involve students sharing, what they've observed, what they've learned, what they've experienced with others. Okay, so in terms of funding, it is a very generous opportunity. So we have the funding available to cover travel expenses. So this includes flights, return flight. It includes travel within the country, so travel from the airport to your destination, and any travel that you will undertake as part of the scheduled programme. It includes the accommodation and also 3 meals a day. And it includes the programme of delivery, so the scheduled programme that's put together by our host colleges in Korea and China, inclusive of cultural visits, and also the pre-departure language classes that you'll undertake, and pre-departure briefings as well. So I'm sure that you'll agree with me that it's a pretty amazing opportunity. That is a lot of funding to cover something which is extremely expensive to undertake independently. In addition to that, we do also have a small amount of additional funding for those from less advantaged backgrounds, and that is likely to cover things like subsistence, so things like cost of snacks and drinks while you're in country. It might help if we've got somebody who's selected for the opportunity that doesn't have a passport. It might be their passport application. It might pay for a SIM card in country to allow you to communicate with others on the trip and to communicate with home. In terms of what exactly that would be determined much later. We would conduct a needs analysis where we identify those within that category, what they might need support with, and make a decision based on that. So here is the category for less advantaged groups. So essentially, you've probably seen these categories before. They're similar to categories, for example, for things like funding around your course. It includes learners who have a low household income, and household income under £25,000, those who are receiving universal credit, those who are in care or care experience, those who have caring responsibilities, and learners in receipt of free school. So just to move on to the timeline of activity leading up to the mobilities. So the applications are now open, and we will be accepting applications until the end of the month. I'll talk more about the application process in a short while. And then from the beginning of November, we'll have applications will be shortlisted. Interviews will take place around the middle of November, so we're looking at around the 7th to the 18th of November. And the outcome, so those that are selected for the opportunity, will be announced on Friday, the 2nd of December. So there's a lot that's happening over the next 6 weeks or so. And then we'll have the first pre-departure session for those that are selected the week of the 5th of December, so before we break for Christmas. And then from January, as I mentioned, language classes will start. So those selected for the career opportunity will commence their weekly Korean language classes, undertaking 2 hours of online learning a week. And those selected for the China opportunity will undertake Chinese language classes, 2 hours a week. That will run through to the middle of March, so to the week of the 13th of March, excluding the February half-term week. And then February, for those that are selected for the career opportunity, there'll also be the second pre-departure briefing session. Then in March, we'll have the final pre-departure briefing for the career opportunity. And then the departure for career itself. So we're looking at around the weekend of the 25th, 26th of March. The dates are to be confirmed at the moment. We haven't yet booked flights, so much will depend on that. And then for the China experience, those that are participating in that will continue with their language classes, and then in April have their second pre-departure briefing. In May, we'll have those that have visited Korea will be coming back and sharing their experience and likely presenting on it. And then for June, we finally have the third pre-departure briefing for the China opportunity, and then the departure for China towards the end of June. So again, we're looking at the weekend of the 25th, 26th of June, but it's to be confirmed. And those visiting China will return around the 15th of July. I haven't put on here because that's the end of the academic year about the sharing and presenting on experiences, but there would still be an expectation around that. Obviously, we'd be wary of those that do participate in the China opportunity, that it is at the end of your the academic year, and you might have commitments for the summer, but there would still be seeking to do something with you, although of course discussing it with you to see how we could make it work. So for South Korea, of the 57 students or 57 places that we have funding available for, 34 of those will be students who live in Korea, and we'll be working with 2 colleges in Korea, so Kyungbuk College and Keimyung College University, and students will be likely be split even, so we'll have 17 for Kyungbuk College and 17 for KMCU. So KMCU, Keimyung College University, is located in Daegu, which is a city, I believe the 3rd largest city, and Kyungbuk College is in a more rural area. And so here you can see where the colleges are located. So the stars with the number 1s on are the location of the colleges. So the one towards the bottom of the screen, this is Daegu, so that's where Keimyung College University is based. The one further up in the kind of centre of the country, Yeongju, that's where Kyungbuk College is based. And then the star that I've popped up at the top there, the number 2, that's where Seoul is. So some of you might have heard of Seoul before. Seoul, the capital of Korea, and students that are selected for the career opportunity will spend some time in Seoul in the last week of the programme. If I can start there. Okay, so here is a map of Keimyung College, and there is a link there to a 360 tour of the campus, which is fantastic. But I'm not going to click on it because I am wary of the fact that we are broadcasting this live, and I'm not great with technology, so I don't want to be clicking too many buttons. But as I said, we will share the slides so you can have a little look afterwards. But you can see there on this map the scale of the college campus. So it's located, the campus is the campus for the university as well as the college. So it's Keimyung University, and within the grounds of Keimyung University sits Keimyung College. So very impressive grounds, very beautiful grounds. There's lots to see there. There's lots of kind of history. They've even got their own museum on the campus. And you can see the image to the left of the screen there is one of the main buildings. Okay, and so moving on, so Kyungbuk College. Do I dare play this video? Let's try. Maybe not. No, I'm not gonna tempt fate and play the video. As I said, we will share the slides with you. But essentially, the video gives you a view of the campus. Again, very large, very impressive campus. Very different area. So Kyungbuk College, as I mentioned, it's in a more rural area, but very beautiful. A lovely kind of small town nearby. Lots of kind of culture. Very happy people there. We might be in line. I'm going to put that there. It does go on for a little bit longer, so please do have a look at it in your free time. So moving on to the schedule for the mobility, this is still very much to be confirmed at the moment. But to give you some idea, as I mentioned, we're looking at a departure for the career opportunity of towards the end of March. So we're looking at the weekend of the 25th, 26th of March, which would mean the programme then starts from Monday, the 27th of March. Those who participate will have an induction, a welcome to the campus, an introduction to the local area, and then from the Tuesday, assuming they do start on Monday, begin a language and cultural programme. So they will have already undertaken Korean language classes online, so it will be a bit of a top up, a bit of a reminder on those language skills that have been learnt. And also experiencing a bit of Korean culture, so doing some Korean traditional things like having an opportunity to play some musical instruments, maybe trying some handball and that kind of thing. Then at the weekend, those participating would go on a cultural visit with some of the students from the colleges and have a free day on the Sunday. And then during the second week of the programme, participants would be focusing more on a green growth project. So when we say green growth, we're thinking about technologies which support sustainability and climate action. So you'll be looking at some of the measures that are in place in Korea and here and some examples of best practice that they have going on there. And also visiting some industries, so learning a little bit more about the fourth industrial revolution, which is another area in which Korea and China have some really great examples. And then another culture at the weekend, And then on the Sunday, transferring to Seoul, the capital, and then during the last week, having an opportunity to experience some Seoul, so to do a bit of sightseeing, and also undertaking another few kind of industry visits to some of the organisations that demonstrate good examples of green growth or industry. And then that would give a departure of around about the weekend of the 16th to 17th of April. So moving on to China, so of the 57 students, we have funding for 23 will be selected to visit China, and they'll be accompanied by 3 members of staff, and all of those students will visit one institution, so Shenzhen Polytechnic, which is located in Shenzhen in the Guangdong province. So it's down at the very bottom. So China here is very nearby to Hong Kong, and it's very much an up and coming area, and it's actually pitched to be the kind of Silicon Valley of China. And we have on the left there a couple of images from the college. So again, very, very grand campus, very different to the centres we have here. The image on the right here is of the city, and I put that in so you can understand the kind of size of the city, and as I said, very kind of advanced. Good examples of green growth and industry talking. And here is the draft programme that's been put together by Shenzhen Polytechnic. So they've included some sessions around Korean language and culture, so Chinese language and culture, some interesting visits, cultural visits and industry visits, so things like the local museum, looking a lecture on innovation and entrepreneurship, student debates, how to make dumplings. So many interesting activities. Again, with this opportunity, you would be undertaking a project during the second week that looked at green growth. And so different to the career opportunity, so you will be staying within the Polytechnic campus for the full 3 weeks of the programme, and so we've got a further schedule within the college during the 3rd week. Okay, so accommodations, much more kind of detail on these next kind of couple of slides will be shared with those that are selected for the opportunity. But I feel it's important now to give you a bit of an indication as to what you could expect in terms of accommodation, and then on the next slide in terms of food, because I think that these are big points that we think about when we think about whether we want to apply for an opportunity like this. So that you understand, so accommodation is likely to be in a shared room, with twin beds. The image that I've put there, that's not necessarily a room that will be provided at any of the host colleges. It's just to give you an idea of what the room will feel like. So it's going to be quite basic, but it's likely we'll have everything that you need. So you'll have a bed in there, you'll have probably some space to work and some space to store your clothes. And the accommodation will be either on the campuses or nearby to the campuses. And then moving on to food, again, I think that this is something really important to think about when you're thinking about whether this opportunity is for you. So the images that I've put on the left-hand side of the screen there, these are quite typical school meals. So these are the types of foods that you can expect to be served in the cafeterias. So as I mentioned, there is 3 meals a day provided within the programme. But these are likely to be the meals that you receive, the 3 images to the left there. But I also wanted to include some other images on the right here. These are some of the kind of infamous dishes of Korea and of the region of China, so that you can get an insight into some of the other kind of dishes that might be served in restaurants nearby. So if you were selected for the opportunity, I'm sure you don't need to be time, you can venture out and try some of these other dishes. In terms of dietary requirements, the institutions will do what they can, but it is likely to be limited. So if, for example, you are somebody who requires halal meat, that might not be available. It might be a case of following a vegetarian diet. And likewise, actually, if you're somebody who's vegetarian or vegan, there will be something available, but it might not be a great selection. It might be a little bit bland. There would be an opportunity, of course, to visit the local shops and to pick up some kind of snacks and to do some shopping for yourself. Although even with that, bear in mind again, there is some issues with understanding what's in foods and also what you can get your hands on. So, for example, halal meat, even in the local shop, you're not likely to come across it. So in terms of managing expectations, so just to give you an idea of some of the challenges that you could face if you decided to apply and were selected for this programme, the time difference is difficult. There is a big time difference. You're looking at kind of 8-9 hours time difference. It makes it difficult with communicating back home. It makes it difficult with things like jet lag. It takes a while to kind of settle in. You quite often feel very strange for the first couple of days where you adjust to the time zone, and then likewise when you return to the UK, again readjusting back to UK time. You will be away from your family and friends, and it is 3 weeks is quite a long while, particularly if it's not something that you've done before or something that you've done often. There is a language barrier. It can be difficult sometimes and frustrating when you want to communicate with somebody, even to ask a simple question like, where is the bus stop, or even where is the exit. Sometimes it can be very difficult to find somebody who speaks English when you're out and about. The programmes will have a busy schedule. The 3 partners that we work with in Korea and China are fantastic, and they really want our students to have the best possible experience, and they put their all into planning these programmes. But it does mean that they are pretty intensive. They're pretty long days. We're not used to such long days here in the college. There's a lot of kind of independent time, independent study time, and this programme will be quite different. It will be kind of more action-packed. You can expect to kind of start in the mornings around kind of maybe 9 AM and often not finish until 5 PM or sometimes even later if they've got something planned for the evening. But the advantage is it is an amazing opportunity. It's a chance to experience a different culture and meeting people, and you will develop a range of skills which can contribute to your employability appeal. When I did this presentation last year, so last year was the first year that we received funding for this programme, and this was something that we'd promised when we submitted the application for funding. We said it's going to contribute to employability appeal, and I thought, will students really improve their employability appeal by partaking in an opportunity like this? And we took a group of students last academic year out to South Korea, and it's been amazing to see. It was amazing to be out there with them and see them from start to finish and see how their confidence developed, what they observed, what they learned while they were out there. And it was really great when we came back, hearing from them a few weeks or 3 months on, and hearing about what the opportunity, the kind of doors that the opportunity had opened up for them. And we were hearing examples of people who were applying for jobs and saying, oh yeah, the employer was really interested to hear more about this time that I'd spent in Korea. So I can quite confidently say, it's likely to have an impact on your employability appeal. It's something that's quite niche. It's something that if you're entering the world of work, or even if when you're coming back, you're looking for a part-time job, and when you submit an application or a CV, there's unlikely to be many others who have had a similar experience. And the last point is to say that you will be representing the college, or those that are selected for the opportunity will be representing the college, and they'll be expected to act in a mature and a professional manner. As I said, there are, the programmes can be quite busy at times, and I understand, it's a new country, and those that participate might be kind of really tempted to go and do their own exploring, and you will have some free time, but you are expected to fully partake in the programme that's scheduled. Okay, and of course, I have to include a slide on COVID. We will have to observe, or those that participate in the opportunity will need to respect any policies and practices that are in place at the time of the visit. It's impossible now for us to say what these are. We don't know what the next few months will hold. I can say that in the past, over the past kind of couple of years, the policies and practices in Korea and China have been quite different to here. You've probably heard it on the news, you probably know that they have been more strict. And even when we visited South Korea, so we visited the group of students who went last academic year from the end of June through to kind of mid-July. We were originally due to go out at Easter, but at that time, new variant, and there was still a lot of kind of caution on the Korean side, so we needed to postpone it to the summertime. And when we went out there, at the time that we went out here in the UK, things are pretty much as they are now. Nobody's really wearing masks anymore. Things are pretty relaxed. But when it came to Korea, they still expected us to be fully vaccinated and to wear masks in public spaces, which included while we were in the colleges. That could well be different for this, for those that participate in the springtime. I can say that as at now, the travel rules have been relaxed for Korea, but face masks are still widely worn out there. For China, there is kind of restrictions that kind of come change quite frequently and change between the provinces depending on if there's an outbreak. And there's still a lot of kind of prep work in terms of undertaking PCR tests, or 2 PCR tests, I think is the case at the moment. So yeah, as I say, we can't. I can't stand here in front of you now, several months before, and say what the practices would be. But what we do ask is for those that apply for the opportunity that they would be prepared to follow any of the practices that are in place. So it might require, you may be required to take a PCR test, or a lateral flow test, an antigen test. Yeah, and we also have to have in our minds that there is a chance that, although it doesn't seem likely at the moment, there is always a chance that we might need to kind of postpone things, change dates. Okay, I'm nearly finished and nearly ready to open up to questions. But I just wanted to share with you this video that one of the students who visited Korea in June, July put together. It shows some snapshots from the experience of the students.
I'm back from Korea.
And just the final few words, promise I'm nearly finished. So the application process. So the application form is now live and you can now apply online. It's a Microsoft Forms form. So I think all of you sat here now and all of you joining us online will have completed the expression of interest form. It's very similar to that, but it's going to ask you for some more detail. There's a QR code and a link there. As I said, don't panic if your phone's not working and locking on the QR code. We are going to send around these slides, so you will have access to it after the session. The application will close on the Sunday the 30th. So you've got all of this rest of this week, all of next week, and next Sunday. And then I put a number of you should have a kind of quiet week next week, half-term week. So hopefully some time to pull your application together. But yeah, just before midnight, going into Monday the 31st, so 11:59, the application will close. You need to complete the application form in full. It doesn't ask for a huge amount of information. As I said, it's more kind of your personal details, but you do need to prepare a 2-minute video which explains what the opportunity means to you and how it will contribute to your professional development. There is an opportunity to link that video at the end of the application form. I know when we did this last year, there were a number of people that had issues with linking the video that they'd prepared. On the form, there is an email address there that you can send the video to. So if you do have problems uploading your video, send the form without the video and then send the video through to the email address that's been provided, stating your details so that we're able to link the two together. And I think the rest of it I've covered in the earlier slides. So following on from once we've received the applications, it will then be up to each of the colleges, to a team within each of the colleges to shortlist based on the applications that were received to their college. And those that are shortlisted will be invited for an interview. And then from those that were interviewed, the final selection of students will be made. We are likely, or we will be seeking permission from tutors prior to confirming the places, to announcing the places to those that have been selected. So if you are somebody who has said that you know your academic progression is good and you've been performing well in class and you haven't, we are likely to find out about it, so just bear that in mind. And also just to mention there that when we check with the tutors, one of the things we'll check with is the dates. I know that last year that was a big question for people because it's a 3-week opportunity. So we've tried as much as possible to limit time away from the college. So the career opportunity, it will take place over the Easter break. So we hope that we anticipate that students would only miss 1 week of college. But definitely we'll be checking with the tutors that that student is in a position to miss that week of college, that it won't have a massive impact on the learning. And likewise at the end, so the China opportunity, the dates that we've selected in June, we believe based on last year that all of the exams and coursework submissions will be done by then, but that is something we'll be checking with tutors prior to announcing the places. And yeah, as I mentioned before, we're seeking to announce the places on Friday the 2nd of December. I'm not going to go into this too much now because I want to give you the time to ask questions, but I've popped on that last slide there. This is the criteria that we'll be looking at for the application form and then for the interviews. So just so you can bear it in mind as you, particularly for the application, as you prepare your video. We've got the questions there that we will be looking to see if you're answering these questions in your application, and then these are the questions that we'd ask in interview. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you very much for listening. Okay, has anybody got any questions? Yeah. We get.
On the Google Forms, it says, what is your course of study? And if you're doing 3 A-levels, which one would you put?
Very good question, thank you. So I hope that you should be able to put A-levels and then to put the brackets. Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, I think in the question is in relation to to question 11 on the application form. It asks about your course of study. So if you are studying A-levels, I think you should be able to put A-levels and then to list the 3 A-levels that you are studying on the form. Any other questions?
I have 2. So the first one is the people in the uni or college we got to visit, are they our age or like how much older really?
Good question. So I think it will vary from college to college, and also it will vary depending on the participants that are selected from our end, because we are recruiting from across the college group from a range of courses. So some of those participating might be 18, but we might also have some that are into their 20s, 30s, maybe even older. But yeah, essentially with the colleges, they will be a similar kind of age to yourselves.
On the, whenever we do get free time, are there any like limits of how far we go, what we do, anything, any restrictions at all?
So in terms of those kind of finer details of the programme, that's something as we complete a risk assessment, we'll be looking at that, and you would be advised beforehand of the limits that we'd put in place. Generally, we, based on last year, we asked students to stay within the immediate area. We had contact with everybody. Everybody had a SIM card that worked, so they were able to contact us in case there was any emergencies. And we also had a buddy system in place. So last year, just with Korean, but we had at the colleges that we visited, we had Korean buddies. So there were students studying at the college who were available during the programme. So they escorted our students when they went out in their free time and showed them the kind of local places to visit and what have you. And we're seeking to set up a similar system again for this year. I'll take you just a minute. I know you have to.
So, when you were going to like a different country, like with the currency, do you change it there or do you change it back? And how much would you have to bring if it was to pay for yourself?
So first of all, in terms of the question of how much you would need to take, I mean, in theory, as you saw the slide on the funding, it's pretty generous. So all of the essentials, so your accommodation, your meals, your travel, are going to be covered. And if you are somebody that falls within the less advantaged category, allow you to get a small amount of money that will also cover things like, you know, if you're out and about and you need to buy a drink or a snack, or if you want to ride the bus somewhere in your free time. So really, you don't need to take any money. You could, in theory, you could go with no money if that's what you chose to do. Generally, thinking about the students last year, I think most took some money, but I guess that there was quite variation in how much people took. I did know some of the students at the end of the trip had been shopping and had like the shopping bags, and I thought, wow, they must have taken a lot of money with them. Yeah, so it really depends on you and your circumstance, but all of the essential parts of the programme are paid for. In terms of changing up currency, again, all of the essential things are paid for, so you don't need any money as soon as you get there. So it's something that you could change up within countries. So I'll just take the one at the back.
Hi. My question is, during the Korean trip, it's going to be a Ramadan for Muslims. So do you guys have any plan through that, especially fasting through sunrise to sunset?
That's a very good question. And to be honest, we hadn't got quite down to that level of planning yet, but thank you for bringing that to our attention. It's definitely something we'll look into. I think as students are selected for the opportunity, we'd be seeking to identify if there are any who are observing Ramadan, and then seeking to see what needs they had and how we could best support them. As I mentioned before, definitely the Korean and the Chinese colleges, they are so delighted to have our students with them, and they do everything they can, but things are different out there. So as I said, like for example, like with like halal meat, when we were in Korea last year, it wasn't that they were kind of being lazy and they couldn't be bothered to provide it. It's just that there wasn't in that area of Korea, there wasn't anywhere locally, so the best they could do was provide kind of a vegetarian alternative. So yeah, with that, they would, I'm sure we'd seek to put in place what we can, but it might not be exactly the same standard as what we're used to. Who was next now? I'll take one for that and then I'll come to the front.
During the trip, is it okay if we spend time to do like final major projects? Like, can we use the trip as part of our work to submit? Because I'm studying media, so filming, production, that'll be fun.
Yes, so that's a good question. The ideal scenario would be that you've completed all of your work beforehand. And as I mentioned, prior to us making the final selection of participants, we're in contact with the lead tutors anyway, so to see if they know of any reason why the student couldn't come. Based on last year, there were some of the tutors who said to us, oh, well, you know, this student has a project that's due in on that day. But what we'll do with them is we'll work with them to bring that deadline forward a bit and to support them so they can submit it earlier so they don't have it hanging over them. That would be the ideal because it's, as I said, it's quite a busy trip and we want you to be able to fully enjoy the experience. I don't want people to be out there and having to worry about kind of coursework in the back of their minds. Maybe the one at the front here is going to be. Okay,
And there was a specific project, so I was wondering, does it matter what A level you do for it to pass?
That's the project. Okay, so just to repeat that question, so it was about the project that I mentioned, so the Green Growth Project, and if the course that you're studying has an impact on you being able to participate in that project. No, definitely not. We selected kind of green growth and Industry 4.0, so the fourth industrial revolution, as topics to explore because one, Korea and China have got some good examples, but also because they're quite general topics that impact on us all, and it doesn't matter what course you're studying in, unless they're topics that are quite easy to kind of go into to see an example and to pull something together. So yeah, definitely not. The course that you're studying doesn't have an impact.
What if people got accepted, but then they change their mind, they want to drop off? Do you replace them or it's just an empty space?
Good question. So we really hope that those that are offered a place before they accept it. So at the point that you're offered a place, we get you to sign an agreement to essentially say, you know, that you're committing to the opportunity. We understand that there are some considerations within that. So, you know, if you perhaps, I don't know, fall ill and you can't attend or something serious comes up, we understand sometimes these things can't be helped. But as much as possible, we'd hope that those that are selected commit themselves to the programme and don't drop out last minute. If somebody does need to withdraw for a legitimate reason, then definitely we'd be looking to fill that space. This opportunity is amazing and we want as many students to benefit from it as we can. And so with that, we will create a list of probably a few, I'm not quite sure how many yet, probably like say 5 students who are on a waiting list essentially. So if anybody drops out, then they can then take a place.
For the application, is it first come, first served?
So no, it's not. So we won't. The applications are open now. Will remain open until the 30th of October, and then after that date we'll assess all applications. How quick you get your application in has no impact on our assessment, provided of course it's in by the deadline. We'll be looking at the last slide that I showed you there had a criteria, so you can have a look at that, see some of the things that we're kind of looking for. But the selection will be made by each of the a team within each of the individual colleges. Okay.
If you're not 18 by the deadline, which is the 17th of March or June, but you're born a few days after and before when you fly, can you still go? Yeah, 3 days after.
Okay, so that's a good question. We potentially have a little bit of leeway with the dates. What we know for certain is that everybody who during the programme needs to be 18 prior to the time of departure. The reason at the moment we've set the date on the application forms to the 17th of each of those months, so of March and June, is because we haven't yet booked the flights, and until we book the flights we can't know for certain the departure date, and so we put it a little bit prior to that. If your birthday is literally 1 or 2 or 3 days after that, I'm happy for you to submit an application. At this stage, we are looking to firm up the flights pretty soon. And provided the flights you would turn 18 prior to the time of departure, we could consider your application.
Right, in terms of the 2-minute video that we have to prepare, does it have to be particularly creative, or can it just be like a sit down to a camera answering questions sort of thing?
Another good question. It's completely up to you. We saw a mix of both last year, yeah, I think whatever you feel best suits you. What you need to focus on is getting those questions, the answer to those questions, over to us. And if you feel that by adding in a load of kind of special features, it's going to detract away from that, then I would say just have something that's just sitting down, just you telling us about yourself. Okay. Just before we answer any more questions from the live audience, have we got anyone online? No? Anyone? Any questions online? Okay. Is there anything that's come up more than once that we might? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, there was a question. Who had their hand up? I can't remember who.
You said 2 hours lesson that we're going to have for language and culture. Is it going to be divided in one a day or multiple days in a week?
So for the online language classes prior to departure, what we'll do once students are selected for the opportunity, we'll try our very best to find a time that suits all students, and likely. Well, actually, probably for both of the classes, we'll have students, for both of the opportunities, we'll have students pick up into more than one class, and then we'll look within those 2 times, checking against your class schedules to fit you into one of them. And they're likely to be kind of morning time because they will be delivered by the Korean and the Chinese partners. And so because of the time difference, the morning our time is the end of day their time, so it would likely be something pretty early-ish in the morning. But it isn't like
how much schedule do we have in our language?
That question, well, you really have a good answer. That question was how much luggage allowance would you have? Really, again, we have a bit of flight share. That's something that we would cover much further down the line in the for those that are selected in the pre-departure session. But essentially, so going on last year, students had 23 kilos, which is a pretty standard luggage size for travel. So yeah, it's not. You have to think strategically when you're packing for 3 weeks. That way. Okay. I'm just going to I'll take 2 more questions, and then after that I'm going to close the session because I'm aware of the time. But I will say this: if I don't answer your question, you've got one. You can come to me after it.
So the PCR test price is included in the funding, right? The PCR test is included in the funding.
Yes. So if there are any tests required, COVID-related tests, like PCR tests. That's something we'd be seeking to include within the funding. Okay, I'm going to take a last question from here, and then after that I'm going to close the session, but I will stay here for questions.
When we go out on 3 days, do we have a curfew, and if so, do we have rules we have to follow?
Yes, there will be a curfew. That's something that definitely we need it for our kind of risk assessment, but it's also something that the Korean and Chinese partners will request. It's something that they have for their local students. I can't say on what that time would be yet, so we have to go through a whole kind of process in terms of risk assessment, planning, and also consult them. And what was the second part of the question, sorry? Yeah, and there will be some rules, and again, that's something that we'd cover within the pre-departure session. But they're quite common sense, you know, bearing in mind, as I said, you're a student, you're representing the college. So yeah, the rules that apply, you can probably have a good guess at some of the rules that are likely to kind of come up. Okay, I'm going to close the session now, and if you do have any questions, feel free to come to me or to go to my colleague in the corner, that corner there, and we'll be able to answer your questions for you.